believe. Okay, done. Here we are. Hello everyone. This is Kristen from PokeWorld. It's a great pleasure to have Alan, to be the founder of Aventus Network as our guest today. And first of all, please allow me to introduce PokeWorld and our topic for today. PokeWorld started in 2019, originally focusing on the Chinese market for Polkadot. And while we are the largest Polkadot community in China, we are continually expanding to English-speaking countries. So we welcome projects and keynote speakers. Key opinion leaders to reach out to us, and we will try our best to feature your project in our community. So today our guest is dedicated. Our broadcast is dedicated to Aventus Network, which focus on the adoption of blockchain in enterprises. So to kick things off, let's welcome Alan, the founder of this project, to introduce yourself and your project a little bit. So we want to give our audience, especially those turn in for the first time, a chance to get to know you and the project. This also will set a tone for our conversation today.
Lovely, thank you, Kristen. Hey everybody, it's great to be here. So a little intro to me. I'm Alan Bay. I'm the founder of Aventus, and at Aventus we're all about onboarding businesses to the world of Web3. So really kind of helping businesses migrate from Web2 to Web3. We have a parachain in the Polkadot ecosystem, and we have a lot of technology built on top of that to make it very easy for businesses to integrate this technology. Our use cases span a big variety of different sectors. So for example, we are in the energy space. We do all the technology underneath Energy Web's blockchain efforts. So the likes of big energy companies like Shell or Volkswagen or various different enterprises use it within the energy space. We're also active within the sort of royalty and payment space. Here we help a business, for example, Enigmatic Smile. They have 150 different major reward programs, and then hundreds of thousands of merchants, including McDonald's and Uber and all kinds of others that they help deliver rewards infrastructure to, cashback infrastructure to. And we deliver the blockchain solutions to them to help them more efficiently deal with loyalty points. And then we're in a few other sectors, aviation for supply chain tracking with different airlines at Heathrow Airport in London. And finally, more consumer brands where we help. We have a music project, Beatport, which is a partnership we have with Polkadot to help them with their fan artist experience for hundreds of thousands of electronic music artists, and a variety of other brands within that space. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. We spend all day trying to figure out how we can help people understand how to use this technology, and we provide them the platform to do so within the Polkadot ecosystem.
That's great. Choosing to tackle the enterprise challenges is a unique choices, especially in Web3. Because Web3 people always make decisions to do something that considered to be formal and welcomed. So I'm curious to know that what was there a specific moment that pushed you in this direction?
Well, yeah, I mean, the way Aventus came about, the kind of story will help you understand why we are where we are now. So, I mean, I started this all, I was a computer science graduate from Imperial College in London, and I did my master's in artificial intelligence. And my master's thesis was 2015, 2016, which was the year that Ethereum launched. And we saw what smart contracts could do. So the first vision of Aventus, we launched an ICO on Ethereum and a protocol on Ethereum. And it was looking at event ticketing and how we could help secondary market problems that exist within the event ticketing industry. And then fast forward a couple of years from there, around 2018, 19, we had done a deal with various big companies in the space. But COVID happened. And of course, nobody was going to events. And we had done a deal with Live Nation for one of their French festivals. Live Nation is one of the biggest companies, at least across America and Europe, for event ticketing. And so we had gone from zero to a business like that using blockchain technology, and we'd learned so much in helping some of these big ticketing enterprises. But now there was no ticketing for about 2 years. Nobody went to any festivals, to any events, right, during COVID. So during that time, we really took what we had learned from that journey with some of the big clients we had worked with previously and decided that would be what the next kind of pivot or iteration of Aventus would move into. So in 2020, we founded Ventus in its current iteration and really just delivered that technology. And then the move from Ethereum to Polkadot happened, I think, about a year later, where we had been a layer 2 on Ethereum to help with the scalability challenges and whatnot. But we had built using Substrate because it was the best technology in the market we found at that time. And so it was a natural evolution when the relay chain went live and everything was up and running for us to migrate into the Polkadot ecosystem. So that's how it kind of all came about. We, like any startup, started in a completely different area, but when we got our traction, we were lucky to pivot into a space where we've seen significant traction now moving forward.
Yeah, that's a great. And Aventus, help you to be recognized as Forbes 30 under 30 winners. So this is a big achievement. How has this recognition impacted you the most, both personally and professionally?
Well, really, the goal of what we're doing is not necessarily recognition. Every day we just get our heads down and we try and figure out how we can add value to others, right? We understand this technology very well, but we need, that's only half of the puzzle. The other half is you really have to understand the clients well. And because of blockchain technology, it's obviously had a bad reputation in the previous years for a variety of different reasons. So it's so important to build trust with your client base. So it's taught me and the team so much about how we build that trust with our clients, how we can then deliver on real value and use cases to them and keep doing so. So the majority of our business is very relationship based, and it's follow-on business. After we get a small chance, then we get a bigger chance, and then eventually you get a really big chance. And that's how we're kind of building the business in a variety of different sectors. So it's really taught us the value of sort of traditional relationship building, trust, and these elements. It's a decentralized world with this very high sort of cutting edge technology, but it comes down to the kind of basics of human interactions and trust to really get adoption.
I think during your work, you have to talk with a lot of Web2 enterprises. The world is changing very quickly, and the attitudes towards the cryptocurrency has changed a lot. With figures like Trump now supporting digital currency and Russia officially embracing Bitcoin mining, how does this compare to when you first started Aventus? Do you feel blockchain's visibility and acceptance in the Web2 world has significantly changed?
Absolutely. So I think probably this last year we've seen the biggest change. Obviously, when we started this event, it started in 2016, 2017, right? Back then, when you went on Google and you Googled ICO or Ethereum, there were no answers. Like there was nothing. Nobody had heard about it. I told my friends what I was doing, and they had no idea what it was. Then a few years later, Bitcoin became the thing, and there was the whole ICO wave. And then a lot of people got hurt by that, where there were some scam projects or whatever because of the lack of regulation, because it was so new. Some good projects, but also lots of difficult fraudulent activity. And so that led to the kind of first crypto winter. Then we obviously saw the NFT boom and that next crypto sort of bull run. And everybody got really excited again. But at this point, towards the end of that was sort of what happened with FTX, and what happened with Terra Luna, so some of the big losses, some of the big fraud cases, which kind of led us to that next crypto winter. But off the back of those two kind of major events, the world became so much more educated. So in those times, it was very hard to sell to enterprises. You walked in and they were like, oh, Web3, you're all scammers. Now, where BlackRock has launched exchange-traded funds, they're one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin. You have the SEC that has completely changed their perspective, and global governments, right? Even in China, India, Europe, there is more of a framework, more openness to at least some of the use cases of the technology. So we've seen a significant shift in the thinking of enterprises, in the risk. It's not perceived as super risky anymore. Now it's innovative, and people understand that you can separate some of the controversial cryptocurrency use cases from the value that this technology has applied to different use cases. So yes, it's been quite the journey, and it's an interesting question, I think, on how the world has evolved.
Yeah, me personally have the same feeling before, but I think there are misunderstanding. People from people outside of China. I can see that Hong Kong welcomed open the policy for cryptocurrency, and I lived in the mainland China. Actually, we hold meetups for crypto project very frequently. But when some people talk outside of China, considering that China as a marketplace, they are still afraid of a Chinese market. But I think there already been a great shift, in China, together with the world, So I can see the shift as you feel. So I think that's a great opportunity. We can bring more Web2 users to Web3. But my curious is that, do you think traditional enterprises users will adapt when their companies move to blockchain, or will there be a risk of losing users of the Web2 users, or do you think only Web3 users will embrace it?
I think that the fundamental of the answer to that question comes down to the user experience. Because Web3 is a new technology, obviously it takes a while before it's seamlessly integrated into all of the existing Web2 systems, right? You have to start with, there's a pop-up in your browser where you get your MetaMask or your keys today. In future, we will see this natively integrated into just our smartphones and everything that we use, right? The same way you just scan your face today to get into your phone. I think your wallet will work that efficiently in the future when it's properly integrated. It just takes time and regulation so that the consumer protections are in place for people before the really big tech companies can adopt it. And when they do, they make it so easy for anybody to use. I think the majority of people will become Web3 users without even knowing they're Web3 users, because the experience will be so seamless. Companies will just be able to offer you a better product, a better service, because they're using technology that allows them to do things that they previously couldn't do, which blockchain technology does. And once that user experience problem is solved, and we've seen it get a lot better over the last years, and it's going to get a lot better into the next years, I think people will just be automatically onboarded without even knowing it.
Oh, yes, user experience is very important, but why the user experience is not very good in Web3? It is because we're not at the stage, or why?
Yeah, I think it just takes time for big companies. What are the biggest companies in terms of market cap, right? Let's pick Apple as an example, right? Many people have iPhones. There is no integration of a wallet with an iPhone yet. There are apps on the iPhone, but Apple themselves haven't natively integrated wallets. And I think that's just because the technology is so new. It's only this year where the SEC has stopped taking such an attacking approach against the kind of world of Web3 and blockchain. So I think it's just a matter of time. It requires the big tech companies to natively integrate these technologies into their offering, And at that point, we will see great user experience.
Do you think that the limitation of the technology is one of the reasons? Because when we can think about the internet history, in the beginning we have the DOS operation system, and until we have Windows operation system, the computer becomes more welcomed. But why they cannot have Windows more earlier? Because they cannot. It's just do you think that blockchain is still at the early stage? There's so much limitation of the technologies, so people don't have so much time or energy focusing on the user experience.
It's your DOS kind of Windows analogy is a great one. I think there's an element of that, but if you look at it, blockchain itself, I mean, the first version of Bitcoin, or at least the white paper, we're talking like 2009, right? So we've had a good 12, 13 years of the infrastructure developing. And I think in the late 2000 teens, right, 2018, 19, that's where we saw the scaling problems start getting sorted, and a variety of things like that. So I think you're right in that there is more good technology layers to be built on top of blockchain. And I think that also comes with the maturity of a market, right? Today there are 1,000 different layer ones, and if you look in the coin market cap lists or whatever, there's so many different blockchains, and a lot of them are offering quite, from the user's perspective anyway, quite similar value adds. I think we'll probably start seeing a consolidation in the market to have 3, 4, 5 major players, or maybe per country a few major players. And at that point, standardization can get simpler. And once you have standardization, then all of the different technology companies can build those kind of layers on top. So yeah, I think that's a bang on assessment that an element of this is kind of building some of those higher user-friendly layers are yet to come.
Okay, and I think Aventus did a lot of job to make Web2 enterprises enter in blockchain more smoothly. And I think your project is active in sectors like music, sports, gaming, energy, and supply chain, and more. So which of these industries is seeing the most traction right now?
So I think one of the interesting things to note on, just because we've had quite a bit of press on it in the last few weeks, is what's happening in supply chain and aviation. So what we are looking at there is the problem essentially is at any point in time, 10% of ULDs, the boxes that go onto the airplanes that carry the bags and the mail and the cargo, at any point in time, 10% of those pods are misplaced or missing. So it's a great inefficiency for the airlines and the airports to figure out where these things are. And this is why you have problems like getting on holiday and your bag's not there. I think many people have experienced that problem. And this exists in a variety of different things. So the solution that we've rolled out at Heathrow Airport with a couple of parties there and are now expanding it is that supply chain traceability piece. How can you better give transparency into where that bin is and optimize where it should be using a blockchain-based system? And what we've been able to demonstrate is a 7% net reduction in operational cost, which results in a sort of $1.2 billion savings to the aviation industry if adopted globally. So that's a big number just for early days of adopting blockchain technology for that use case.
It's a great use cases in supply chain, and you have some other very good use cases in other sectors.
Yeah, so maybe we can talk about loyalty. So in the world of loyalty, you obviously, a cashback, one of our clients, Enigmatic Spa, is a cashback operator. So when you go into a business and you spend with your card or your Apple Pay, you get some money back, right? 5% or something like that. So typically for a cashback operator like that to do business, they've got their users on the one side who are getting this cashback, and they have to wait until they build up $100, and then they can take that $100 and put it in their bank account. They can't spend small amounts because it's very inefficient using the traditional banking payment rails. On the other side, they've got merchants who are paying out this cash back because they want the customers to come and shop in their stores. And that takes time, and it's a debt, it's a cost to the business that they have to pay this out to the users, just for the users to then potentially come back and spend it again. So the system we've helped these guys deploy has allowed for microtransactions. So the minute I get a small payment as a customer, I can spend it again. And it's a blockchain representation of a discount voucher. It's not actually cash anymore. So for the business, they don't have to pay any cash. They just have to promise to reaccept this discount voucher. So it's much more cost effective in how you manage the program, and it's much more cost effective for the business because it's a closed payment economy. So what we've been able to do in this sector is decrease debt by 80% and increase net profit margins by 25% for the participating businesses.
I think these are all great achievements. I think your teams make a great contribution for this, because I think when a enterprise wanna enter the Web3 industry, they cannot think about so much strategies like this. So when it comes to the enterprises, it is more about you reach out to them to say, hey, I can help you with blockchains, or they have a eager demand to solve something, so they find you guys to see if blockchain can help or not.
That's a great question. It's the state of the market right now, in our experience, is that people do not really know exactly how to use this technology yet. They know that there could be potential benefits, but they can't just say, this is exactly what I want to do. Who is the best person to help me do this thing? They need help from people who understand the technology and their business to properly map the two together. So there are companies, and they'll look around and they try and understand, but really what we have to do is we look around the market and we say, okay, here's a sector that we think this technology really applies well to. Some people will reach out to us because they want to do some innovation budget, but many times we'll reach out to them and we'll say, here is what you can do, here is how it works. Let us build a relationship with you. Let us figure out if there's something together. Let's try something small first, a proof of concept, just so that you can see that it works, and let's scale up from there if we hit certain performance benchmarks, which we believe we can. That's how the typical deal happens in the industry right now for us.
What's their first impressions towards blockchain? And they will say, oh, there are tokens, or there are, decentralization, they are transparent. What's mostly their first impression to blockchain?
So our approach is not to go through the technology department or through the innovation department. We go to the commercial side of the business, and we help them understand the value to their business. The technology is a hygiene factor that has to be good to achieve it. But we don't go in and we say, here's blockchain and tokens and what they can do. We go in and we say, we can reduce your costs by 10% with our solution doing supply chain transparency. And then they're like, okay, interesting. Who have you worked with? Where's your proof? And then we show them our proof. And then they say, okay, how does it work? And then we get to the conversation around, okay, there's a blockchain involved in this, and here are how the different elements work. But most of the time, they don't particularly care that much about how. They just care that you can actually deliver the value and that it's not going to be too risky. So in the last few years, it was always, oh, it's blockchain, isn't that risky? And then we had to deal with that whole conversation. But now the market is much more in a place where they understand that blockchain technology can be valuable. Now they just have to be careful sometimes around tokens. None of the big businesses want to be buying tokens or utility tokens. So there are various structures on how that makes the most sense for them to engage. And there's the ability to proxy or deal with fees on people's behalves or whatever. So there are always solutions to those. And then it's pretty much good to go.
Cool. I think basically there are, there have to be a lot of education to do.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And that's why, um, because our next topic, I asked this question because our next topic, Aventus 2.0 updates and AVT holders can now participate in governance and liquidity pools. Governance, liquidity pools. And as a Web3 natives, you know this stuff. But as Web2 users, I think, I have some friends who just interested in blockchain, but all they know is about they can buy Bitcoin. That's all. So I think for Web2 users, when they come across these kind of words, do they really understand the Web3's economy and the governance models?
Absolutely. Your point is bang on. I don't think any of our business clients engage on the network at all. So obviously with the Aventus 2.0 vision, what we allow people to do is become app chains on the Aventus network. The main reason for doing this is two of our clients, Energy Web and also Enigmatic Smile, ended up getting to a level where they decided, okay, we want to have our own ecosystem and we have our own token. Each of them knew that, but some users are like, we want to have our own ecosystem and we want to have no token or nothing to do with tokens. So the goal with Aventus 2.0 is to allow various different formats of networks. If you don't know anything about tokens and you don't want to deal with tokens, you can deploy a network that's a private network that's still deriving a degree of security from a base chain, but very quickly and easily. In terms of governance, I don't think any of our clients participate in governance. That's a separate target persona where there are obviously parties that are interested in some of the base functionality that exists on the Ventus network, but most of these are Web3 users or parties who have sort of stakeholders with a vested interest in the company or the wider ecosystem.
Okay, that's great. So, and this is a words that Web2 users are not familiar with, and another word which is open source. So you guys are working on your upcoming open source program, so you can elaborate it to us, and so we can understand it.
Absolutely. So the Aventus network at its core is all open source. So anybody who wants to replicate what we've done, if there are other areas where the technology can be useful, it has already been open sourced. However, we haven't provided a bunch of resources and support around people doing so. We've been quite busy getting the core technology to a place where it needs to be. But now we're at a point where more and more we're going to be open sourcing more of the different tools and things we have used to deliver real traction in the ecosystem. And we really want people to come set up their own networks, become app chains, and bring their different business use cases into the ecosystem where it makes sense. And we'll be providing support as a community for anybody who's launching programs. There'll be different grant programs to help with liquidity for tokens or other projects that come to the ecosystem. So it's started in its first phase, but it's going to ramp up significantly over the coming year and next year.
Okay, that's great. I think our topic is moving more to Web3 natives. So our next topic is, is about Substrate. In your decoded talk, you mentioned that choosing Substrate and Polkadot because they were the best technologies available. Do you still believe that? Do you still believe that that's today?
Yeah, well, I was a developer. I did an undergrad in computer science, but I've not coded on the Aventus network in years now because my job is to focus on our commercial partnerships. So if it wasn't good and it didn't deliver the use cases, our team will have moved on from this technology and would have proposed that we use something different. I can't in depth technically explain why our team has loved the technology, but I know back in 2018 or 19, when we started building with Substrate, we tried Tendermint, we tried some of the other open source platforms, and none of them really delivered fundamentally. The Rust programming language was one of the benefits, and a variety of the other features. So we've been able to be a layer 2 on Ethereum. We've been a sort of a standalone chain. We've been a Polkadot parachain. We've been able to add all sorts of functionality to the network, and we've never had any downtime. So I've got to say the technology has been able to handle the load and not fallen over. And fortunately, we haven't made any mistakes with it, and no mistakes were made on the technology. So I would still have to say, yes, it's very, very good technology.
It is true, because we as a non-tech savvy, we tried our best to study more technologies like Polygon, like Cosmos, Solana, and a lot of other technologies. But we had a feeling that they're all trying to do something that Polkadot already done, like Polygon 2.0. They are going to do egg layer and then launch the governance system, which Polkadot already done. And Ethereum, they're like, rollups are like parachains. So even though I'm not a developer, but after reading so much materials, I still believe that Polkadot is still so advanced in Web3 technologies. So for the big event, that Jumpchain, so how will the Jumpchain affect your project?
So we really like the direction where things are going, right? The base economic model for the parachain auction system was quite difficult to sell to enterprises, because where you don't know how much DOT you need to stake and therefore how many rewards you need to distribute, when you're sitting with the CTO or the person deciding on the budgeting in a business, and you tell them, we can give you clarity for 96 weeks on what the costs are going to be, but then our costs change, so we don't know exactly how that knocks on. So there needs to be some variability. That's a difficult conversation to have. You want to be able to sign 3-year, 5-year deals with your clients and give them predictability over what the fees are going to be over that horizon when you're dealing with big businesses, right? So moving to the Jumpchain, the model with Agile Core Time, the new way in which the economics are going to work for the ecosystem, works much better because you can more predictably buy, and you're capped on the fee changes from period to period for the fundamental compute that you're going to be using. So in terms of a business model for calculating your fees and giving predictability to your clients, we find it's a significant superior model to the former one.
Yes. But at least the Jumpchain is getting more attractions from all sectors, and Polkadot is getting better, can help the branding is more good is good for everyone in this ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's been 4 months since Bitcoin halving. And it is obvious that the industry is in a new cycle. What do you think is the biggest difference or challenge in this cycle compared to the past? It could be the technology, it could be the market, it could be the mindset of the users, or whatever.
I think we kind of touched on it before. To me, what the most interesting part is, which is the corporate world has never been so accepting of this technology. We've been through the difficult ups and downs. The regulatory certainty is setting in. You even mentioned Trump, and the American political agenda is becoming very pro-crypto, and never mind the rest of the kind of major global jurisdictions. So I think we're in a very interesting cycle for fundamental adoption, where the former cycles were a bit more hype-driven, marketing-driven. I think this next cycle is going to be all about real fundamental on-chain users and adoption.
Will pick on other ecosystems like they're more formal? I mean,
Sorry, I didn't catch that. What was that?
oh, I mean, would you, how can I say, it's more like, would you jealous on other ecosystem which is more formal, and they got memes and other attractive dApps, can got attractions.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out now, right? I mean, one thing I think that you were touching on before is Polkadot has done very well in positioning itself, never got called out by the SEC as one of the tokens that they weren't sure about, has really positioned itself with good technology. Now, there are various other ecosystems that have obviously spent heavier with Treasury to try and get flashier headlines and whatnot. Now it's going to be very interesting to see how those worlds kind of merge. But yeah, I think those that are a bit more formal with their governance and their regulatory requirements will have an edge in getting that adoption.
Okay. So have you participated in the OpenGov in Polkadot?
I have not submitted anything before, no. I think one of the projects that we're about to, I can't announce what the project is yet, but we have a major sports partner with tens of millions of Web2 users that we're supporting to launch a Web3 app now in the Polkadot ecosystem. It'll be announced in the next month or two. I believe they're going to go forward and we're going to support them in going forward for a proposal in OpenGov. So hopefully we can see some community support on that front.
Okay. Next, I think you can share some recent development with us, some big announcement or some big progress in your project, so users can know that what they can focus on recently.
I think the most interesting thing we've just launched this week is the governance proposal for liquidity mining. So there are no DEXs currently active in the Ventus ecosystem. Obviously, we're listed on Coinbase, but the goal is to bring this to the world of Uniswap as well. So the Aventus community treasury is going to open up rewards for people who help provide liquidity into the Uniswap pool. So that's probably one of the interesting things for the Web3 users to get involved in. And then obviously there's been the announcement of the Aventus 2.0 vision that we kind of spoke about before. I think next week we're expecting to see all of the simulated mathematical modeling and analysis that MVP Studios has done. Skytail Digital and us have been working together with MVP to help refine the Aventus 2.0 vision. And the last phase of their report is going to be released in the next couple of weeks. So I think between those two things for the Web3 users, there will be some interesting content coming from Ventus.
Okay, that's great. So what's on your mind that gives you a great pleasure right now about your project?
That gives me what about the project?
I mean, give you a headache, like a pressure, too much pressure on your hand.
Well, it's always a challenge to sign up more businesses, right? So I spend every day working with businesses, trying to help them understand the technology. I think the biggest headache for me is how slowly big companies move. I wish that we could just move a little bit faster and expand faster. So I think the biggest sort of headache or pressure for me comes from the speed at which things move. When we know there's a solution there, you want to do it, we know we want to help you with it, but it takes weeks before we actually get into it.
Okay, and I think the Polkadot maybe we can help for you guys to reach out for more enterprises in China. We will try to post some articles in our platform and try to feature you more in our platform. Hope that can help you. Helps you.
That would be amazing. Yes, please. We would welcome speaking to anybody who's interested in exploring further.
Okay, I think to wrap up our broadcast, maybe last, is there some closing statement or anything you would like to say to our listeners to wrap up this conversation?
I mean, mostly I would like to thank you, Kristen, for having us. It's been a great conversation. And anybody else who wants to learn more about Aventus, please go to aventus.io. That's our website. You can find all our social channels and whatever forum you like engaging on there.
Okay, great. Our live stream will pinned on our page for a while. And if our listener have more questions, you can leave comment below this video, and we will ask you promptly, and or we will ask Aventus to respond to your comment and promptly. So if our listeners have more questions, you can paste some comment now. But if you don't, you can paste your comment below below our video on our page. So I think it's a great time that we've learned so much about the Web2 enterprises entering into the Web3 industry, and their mindset and their challenges, and what Aventus is doing. So I think this is just a small part of your project. I think what you are doing is more amazing. But today, our live broadcast is just a hint for you that you can follow Aventus for more, and to keep their to keep an eye on them more regularly. So we're happy today, and thank you, Alan, for being here today, and hope in the future you can come back to our broadcast to upgrade our audience for more progresses in your project.
Lovely. Thank you, Kristen. Yes, we would love to come back and give you an update when we have more exciting things to talk about. But it was great chatting to you today, and thank you to anybody who listened to us.
Okay. Bye-bye.